I'm Professor King, yes, and we have two students here with us today, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll start with some information. So Tara, would you want to start?
Sure. Hi, my name is Tara Marie Joanna. I am currently a second-year master's student in pharmaceutical sciences, but I had my start as a Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences student at the University of Rhode Island. I graduated in May 2019, so not too long ago. I was in most of these prospective students' shoes, so always happy to share about the program, the curriculum, what you can do with a degree, whether or not you want to go to graduate school after, potential career paths after, and what you can do while you're in school, from research to activities on campus to extracurriculars.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Betancourt. So I am a senior here at URI studying pharmaceutical sciences, and currently I will be graduating May 2022, and I'm working in Dr. Menon's lab in the chemical engineering building. So I'll be talking to you a little more about that later on. And I'm here to let you ask me any questions about what it's like to be an undergrad here.
Well, thank you, Heather and Tara. URI itself, I will always call it URI. I've been here long enough that I can't say University of Rhode Island anymore. You think that I would be able to, but we always call this the University URI. And but Rhode Island's a beautiful state, and similar, I'm sure, very similar to Long Island and Pennsylvania. I came from the plains of central Kansas, so I was not used to nearly so many trees or woods or the ocean. So, you know, while I think it's beautiful in the center of Kansas, I also think it's beautiful here. But URI itself, we keep getting a little bit larger every year. We've been expanding, even under the COVID. The year where so many students were lost. We ended up maintaining our enrollment and then increasing last year again. And so these are some of the facts that the university puts out. What I'd like to mention is some of the location. We're very close to Narragansett Bay, and it is covered with beaches, and there are so many public beaches. We're only 20 minutes from Newport and about 30 minutes from Providence. And then you can also get to Boston and New York City very easy on the Amtrak. So let me go to the next one. So the BS Pharmaceutical Sciences, we started this program in 2009. So it's just a little bit over 10 years old. The course, the college originally had a bachelor's program, but that was back when the degree to go into to be a licensed pharmacist was a bachelor's. And then of course the whole nation changed the requirements for that in about 2000, so that the entry degree to be a licensed pharmacist was a Pharmd. So we changed over, University of Rhode Island changed over like everyone else. But then we started to realize that the curriculum that was required by the American Associations of Colleges of Pharmacies to be accredited was much too clinical for some of the students who were interested in a career that didn't involve working directly with patients or working directly in a pharmacy or being a licensed pharmacist. So we brought the bachelor's program back to life. And this program is, right now, we have the largest number we've had in a class has been 45, and our smallest class has been 25, so somewhere around there, and this is in each graduating class. And the program itself is based on the strengths of the college. So pharmaceutical sciences, there's very well-known areas, just like there is in pharmacy. There's very well-known areas that make up sort of all of pharmaceutical sciences. And our college emphasizes many of those. So we've got some of our faculty doing things in what we would call discovery. So for instance, drug discovery, molecule discovery. So we have several faculty who are working in the natural products area. And some of those are working, discovering new molecules from like marine organisms, from coral and from the bacteria that inhabit the coral, from plants, from maple syrup, from things like that. We have others that are taking like some known molecules and changing them chemically to be able to make them more effective. We have other faculty who are doing things in pharmacology. So pharmacology really thinks about how the disease works. So it's really into the biomedical and learning all about how the disease works. And once we know how the disease works, then we can know what kinds of targets we have, what kind of proteins or receptors that we need to design molecules for. There are several faculty who are doing toxicology. So essentially we're trying to prevent the toxicity from various drug reactions or from various environmental compounds. The ADME-PK is a very well-known abbreviation in the pharmaceutical world. It's for absorption, so you have to absorb any molecule or drug that you try to take. The D is distribution. It has to be distributed around your body and to the site of action. The M is for metabolism, and that's some of the reactions that convert the original drug to something that is more excretable. And then the E is for excretion. And then the slash is for pharmacokinetics. So the whole area is thinking about the concentration of the drug over time in different locations of your body. So we have faculty working in these different areas. But we also have faculty working in what's considered development. So development is when you already have a molecule that you know has some biological activity, but you're trying to put it into a dosage form and get it delivered to the right part of the body. So we have several faculty in this area who are doing exciting things with using, say, nanomaterials to deliver the drug deep into the lung, or to have things that can be administered across the skin, all sorts of interesting drug delivery methods. The pharmaceutics is related to the drug delivery, and pharmaceutics is really all the things that need to be done to determine what kind of dosage form. Is it going to be a tablet? Is it going to be a capsule? Is it going to be a patch? Is it going to be something unusual and novel and cutting edge? So that's the pharmaceutics. The clinical pharmacokinetics is also considered a part of development, because that's after you have a molecule and you're actually starting to test it in humans. So these would be like the first in human studies. Then there's another area that I like to call aftermarketing, and that's one of the names for the field. So after you get a drug or a medication approved by the FDA and on the market, there's a lot of studies that are done after that. So epidemiology, we want to see who is, depending on what their conditions are, who's getting the best health outcome, who's getting the best outcome for the treatment. Part of that is economics and epidemiology. So we have another group of faculty who are working in this area. And just to show, so these pictures I have printed in, I've got these off the website for some places. So this up here is one of the photos of our building. And we've got a slide coming up in here that talks about our building. I'm not being a very good professor because I'm going out of order. The students hate when you go out of order. But here at the URI campus, our building was opened in 2012, which seems like many years ago, but it still looks brand new on the inside and still is very, very, very functional. The labs are very good. The classrooms are very nice. Everything is still very nice. So here's a picture of that. The university campus has undergone a lot of building recently, especially in the science areas. Just before COVID hit, the College of Engineering opened a brand new building. Shortly before that, nearby, there's the Chemistry and Forensic Sciences opened a new building. And then just before ours in 2010, the College of Life and Environmental Sciences opened theirs. So the campus is expanding and really growing. And the state has put a lot of investment into helping the university really be an impressive site to do all the work that we're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to try to stay in order. If anyone has any questions in the meantime or things they'd like to talk about later, please go in the chat. Heather and Tara, if you want to chime in sometime, please just say a little something, or if you see one of the guests having something in the chat, please chime in, okay? So all of our students do what we call experiential education. So experiential education would be something that would be obviously outside a classroom. Sometimes it's in the laboratory of one of our faculty. We have about approximately 20 faculty who have active labs, and then a few more have like active bench wet labs. And then we have a few more that have some kinds of computer labs. And so all the faculty are doing research, and the students that are here can get involved in that. So we have, you either need to take 6 credits of independent study with a faculty member, or you can do an internship at an outside site. And we have quite a few sites in Rhode Island, and then also a little bit further away where the students are doing internships. We have a 1 credit course that the sophomores take that really get them started in all of this. They start to explore career possibilities. They start to draft some internship applications, and really explore the different careers that are available to them, so that by the time they are ready to graduate, they are ready to apply for the jobs in their interest area. One of the things that we've been able to implement is ITR is our internship group. And so they've been able to implement some where you can get course credit to visit various companies and learn about what they do. So for instance, in our January term, it's our winter term. So it's 3 weeks in from the 1st of January till before classes start at the end of January. So students are going to be able to have visits to these local companies. So Denison Pharmaceutical is in Providence. Naramco is near the same place. Most of these are in slightly northern Rhode Island. Adhesia Nutrition, Vitae Industries. So these are all very local companies, but they're very much hiring our students, and are very interesting places to learn about some of the career opportunities that you can do with this degree. We also have a very strong mentoring program. So in this case, mentoring program can be many things. This particular one has some of our alumni that are senior alumni in their career. So, usually they're directors or, in the pharmaceutical companies or other places where they're fairly established in their careers. And we have them matched up one-on-one with some of our pharmaceutical science juniors, and to be able to explore that area. And they have really strong connection, and oftentimes they still keep in touch during this senior year. And several times it's led to being hired by that company, not always obviously, but several times. So what do Rad graduates do? And that's a big thing that parents are interested in, and students are maybe not so interested in, but the parents are definitely interested in this. So this was from one of our early graduating class. We've added up all of our graduates through the last May. And over all those years, about 60% of our graduates have gone into a company. So, some kind of pharmaceutical company, biotech company, life science company. And we'll see in a couple next slides that some of these job titles, but about 60% has actually gone into a company. 20% approximately has gone directly to a graduate school. So what we're talking here in this 20% is on to a master's or a PhD in the like health sciences or the more still in pharmaceutical sciences, a variety of areas, but going into the kind of research areas in graduate school. I'll start at the bottom. 8% have gone on to Pharmd programs. So we don't intend to be a feeder program for a Pharmd, but certainly some of our students end up being interested in that, and they are being competitive for acceptance into other Pharmd programs, such as the 4+4 schools or the 4+3 schools. Probably 2 of our students have finished the bachelor's degree at URI, and then were admitted into our own Pharmd program. And so, you know, that's a possibility, but it's fairly rare to do that. Another small percentage have gone into other science-related fields. So this could be all sorts of things. Certainly, we like to say, you know, we have data from our surveys that we have a high percentage of our grads are employed within 6 months after graduation. And that's been consistent across all the years, that they're having very nice employment opportunities. Especially, I mean, in New England, we're close to Boston, we're close to New York, New Jersey, and so on and so forth. So there's a very high intensity of companies in the region that are hiring our graduates, and they're finding it fairly easy to find jobs in the area that they're interested in. So just to finish up talking about after graduation, here's some of the job titles that our students have had, so some career options. So we've had students go into product development. So what do we mean by product development? You know, it's very broad range, but essentially, you know, thinking about taking something from manufacturing. So you have something that you've done in your preclinical studies where you know that it has some activity, but you actually have to, you know, put that into a formulation and manufacture it and do quality control on it. So there's a lot of things that are in the product development. There's many, many areas of research and development. So every division, department of company will have a research and development position. I'd mentioned manufacturing. There's quality control at every step of the way. Everything that happens in the drug development has a quality control step. It also has a quality assurance step. So the quality control is the person usually doing the experiments to measure the concentration or the purity. Quality assurance would be another person down the row who's reviewing the data to make sure that the product really does meet the particular criteria. So regulatory affairs, clinical trials, all sorts of things. Here's some of the places that are very general way have hired our students. And then here's, it looks like a long list, but we have a much longer list once we start to gather every company that one of our graduates has gone to. So, you know, they're mostly in the Northeast, but also in other areas of the country. But I'd say the majority are in the Northeast. Does anybody want to chime in? I'm a professor. I could talk forever and nobody gets a word in edgewise. Anyone want to chime in?
Basically, I just want to talk about the independent research part over here, the BPS 497, just because, you know, as a senior, I started doing my independent research my first semester of my junior year. So I'm going on about a year now into it, and I wish I did it sooner. And I see that some people do it later, like they do it in their last semester of their senior year. And I just think that it's not enough because of what the opportunity actually gives you. So when you're going into this major, you're judged when you get out of here a lot on your hands-on abilities of what you've done. So it's a very different experience than just being like in your regular like chemistry lab or anatomy lab or any kind of lab that's part of your curriculum. It definitely gives you a whole insight of what the research world looks like. Even if you don't see yourself in research, like academia research, or you see yourself more industry, you still need these skills. So just seeing the way that any research project starts and then finishes is going to help you so much in the field, because it's going to give you a lot to talk about, a lot to tell, you know, your future employer that, yes, I've done this, I've seen this experiment go from the beginning to the end. This is what I had my hands in. And they're going to see you as somebody that's moldable. You might not be doing exactly the same thing, but they'll know that you can be trained. And it's a lot. So one semester, you know, you might not get as much out of it as you want. So I guess my point is just like, don't assume, okay, I haven't done very much in my major courses yet, so maybe I'm not ready. Because there's some sophomores, first semester sophomores in the lab that I'm working in now, and they haven't even taken a BSPS course yet, but they're in there and they're learning and they're working with things and they're gaining that experience. So if you're thinking about this program, I think that this is like one of the very underrated experiences that should be taken notice much sooner rather than later. As well as I'm also doing the BSPS alumni program. And that shows a lot of insight too, because it's not just an alumni that just graduated like yesterday. It's somebody who's been in the field for like many, many years. So not only have they, been in the industry, went through a couple different companies, maybe went from right where you're going to start up into like CEO, head of company status, or they've just traveled throughout the industry and the field, so they can guide you a little more on to what to expect post grad, which I think is something that it can be easily forgotten when you're in school, because you're just thinking about school, and then you graduate and you're like, oh, there's the rest of the world. What do I do now? So being in contact with somebody that's already on that outside, I think is very helpful to kind of keep you focused on, all right, there is going to be an aftermath after this. So what am I going to do? And I think that the independent study as well as the alumni program is something that really prepares you for that along the way, to kind of have your foot in both sides of the fence. So that's my experience and my advice to any newcomers.
Yeah, that's great, Heather. Thank you. I switched to this slide because that's a good segue into, and I said this phrase earlier, but everything the faculty do, the students can get involved in. And yes, while it's mostly, the majority probably start doing something independent study or research in the labs in their junior year, we do have freshmen who are interested. We do have sophomores who are interested. And as soon as you become interested, then you have those opportunities. One of the bright pictures about the college is we do have a lot of research funding. So we're very proud of this this criteria here. In terms of pharmacy colleges, we're in the top 5% in the nation for federal research funding. So all of that funding goes to professors to do studies in their lab. And while their studies may or may not be paying for undergraduate research assistants, the undergraduates can get involved in that for their course credit. And that's part of one of the criteria for graduation. So here this particular link was just sent out. Just if you want to later, I can put this into the chat, this link into the chat. And it's just recently the college was part of their marketing, and so they listed all of the research grants from January to August. And just in that amount of time, I didn't count the whole list, but there's at least 20 of those in the list. And so you can get an idea of the variety of activities that go on in the college and that the students can get involved with. So there's almost too many choices. Students often have a hard time deciding what they want to do because there are too many choices instead of too few. Tara, can I pass it to you for a little bit?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Heather and Dr. King, for going through like a really good overview so far of the BSPS program. I chose BSPS when I was an undergrad for a variety of reasons. And I don't know if we're going to go over the curriculum anytime soon, but for me, my selling point was the curriculum. And that in the first couple of years, yes, it is a bit more rigid in that it has a lot of requirements. It requires a lot of biology, chemistry, anatomy, math, statistics courses, but all of those are building to give you such a strong and solid foundation for those very nuanced and specific courses that you'll take in your junior and senior years in pharmaceutical sciences. And it was such a wonderful like transition, I think, for my first couple of years in those more general courses. And those courses, you're kind of sitting side by side with Pharmd students, nursing students, bio students, chem students, engineering students. It's very interdisciplinary. And so you get a lot of good exposure in your first couple of years. And then when you get to your junior and senior years, you get to be very focused in the classes that you're taking. I loved my pharmacology classes and I loved my medicinal chemistry courses because they built upon my actually favorite requirement in undergrad, which was general and organic chemistry. And I'm now a graduate student. I'm a master's student in a medicinal chemistry lab, and I channel so much of the knowledge that I built from my freshman and sophomore years in general and organic chemistry, and then in medicinal chemistry courses that I took in my junior and senior years. I took courses in medicinal plants and natural products drugs, where we study the compounds and molecules that come from natural products. 50% of the drugs that are on the market have their history in natural products. So if you think about aspirin, it comes from the bark of the willow tree, and that's a drug that is life-saving for millions of people. And it's really medicinal chemists who've been able to identify that structure, be able to study it, and then produce it and market it for millions of patients around the world. And that's just a very, very brief overview of the things that you can do with a pharmaceutical science degree and where pharmaceutical sciences sits in respect to the rest of the healthcare field and to the rest of living, I guess. Pharmaceutical science is a part of our daily lives, whether you take supplements or you take a daily drug. The scope is so wide. And I think now with COVID as well, graduates from the College of Pharmacy, they really do go places like Pfizer and Moderna and Amgen. They are hiring. They want the expertise that these students have from their coursework and their research experience. And they really bring things to the table. I haven't entered industry yet because I'm still in graduate school, but I have a lot of friends who went straight into industry working at Pfizer, at Amgen, right after they graduated. And now they're senior scientists at Pfizer right in the thick of it while they were developing the vaccine, or they're developing several of the antiviral drugs there. So it's really wonderful to see what graduates from this university really can do to help the overall healthcare field and the ever-changing landscape of healthcare.
Tara mentioned that I hadn't done anything about the curriculum, and I would like to talk a little bit about that. So I will share my screen again. I don't have pretty slides on this, but I do have what probably will look okay for the guests to view, and that this is part of our advising sheet. So I've zoomed in on it so it doesn't have any of the explanation at the top, but this particular page would show the courses in the third and the fourth year. So these are the courses that are very unique to the Pharmaceutical Sciences program. All of these courses in this list, so we have Pharmaceutics. Biopharmaceutics is all about absorption of the drugs. Pharmacokinetics is measuring the concentration of the drug over time throughout the body. Medicinal chemistry is thinking about the structure of the molecules and how they bind to the target. Pharmaceutics 2 is about dosage forms, human drug metabolism, intro to research. We have 2 semesters of pharmacology. We also have manufacturing. So a big part of the pharmaceutical sciences is manufacturing. And quite a few of our graduates are working either in the manufacturing of biologicals. Probably most of them are working in the manufacturing of biologicals, but we also have some students working in the manufacturing of small molecules. Mentioning biologicals, it's a really hot area in drug development these days. You know, these messenger RNA vaccines, but then also protein drugs, antibodies, other biologicals. And so we have a course that is specific for that, that has been developed in the past couple of years. All of our students take at least 2 like classroom labs. So, you know, they're structured labs. So here we have 4 credits of one that's advanced techniques in biomedical and pharmaceutical sciences. So we have one of these sections on like isolation of natural products and the mass spec analysis of those. And then we have another one on making and purifying some protein drugs. We have cell culture, and we actually express protein in those, and then they purify that. And then we have another one with drug metabolism and some other ones. In addition, we have this lab. This is the manufacturing or the formulation lab. So we have those 2 things that are required. And then the students can take more hours in the research lab if they want. And we also have just started this year to have the experiential education a required part of the degree. So there's these required courses, but we also have a lot of flexibility. So students want to go into different areas. So they have up to 18 credits, and they can choose all sorts of things. So this is where they would put in some things that they're more interested in. So for instance, you know, do they want to go to medical school? So maybe they take some more biomedical classes. Do they want to go into manufacturing? So they can take some more manufacturing classes. Do they want to go into sales? So they can take something that's relevant to sales. There's all sorts of things that can count for these, but essentially they need to be junior, senior level classes. And let's see. On a previous page, I have the freshman, sophomore classes. So Tara and Heather had both mentioned that there's a heavy science part of the curriculum, and that's true. So here, this shows we have a few required non-science classes. We want all our students to take a research writing and an oral communication and an economics. And then here's that 1 credit careers class. But in general, your freshman, sophomore year are taking general biology. We need to be able to have enough physiology and anatomy to know, to understand how the body works and how the drugs are going to work. So we have 2 semesters of anatomy and physiology. We have a year of general chemistry. So that's here, the 100 levels. We have organic chemistry, lab and lecture 1 and lecture 2. We have microbiology, we have biochemistry. We also need some math. So we have pre-calculus and calculus and statistics involved in that. So all of these classes are finished usually by the end of your sophomore year, so that then in your junior year, in your senior year, you focus on all of the courses in the major. Of course, you can always do, if you're ahead in your freshman, sophomore courses, you can always do research and some other things before your junior year. Like I said earlier, we do have some sophomores and occasionally some freshmen getting into the research labs. They're certainly allowed to do it. Really, is anyone who has the interest in doing it can do that. Most of the students don't feel they're ready like mature enough. They're still worried about their other coursework, so not that many freshmen and sophomores do get into the research labs, but it's certainly available for those who are interested.
I don't mind talking a little bit more, and then we can transition to Heather talking as well. Thank you for showing the overview of all of the coursework. I think that then puts, I guess, like, adds a little bit of a visualization to what I was mentioning earlier about the science foundation that we take and then the further courses. So it's been a couple of years at least since I graduated the Pharmaceutical Sciences degree, the undergraduate degree. But I remember despite having so many requirements, I ended up, first of all, really loving all of those requirements. And that's why I stuck around for the degree and now the graduate degree, and hopefully a really promising career at the nexus of healthcare and pharmaceutical sciences. But I also realized how flexible the degree was, that you can add even more to it. So I ended up getting a minor in chemistry. I ended up doing research actually in a chemistry lab. I completed the URI honors program and was able to actually count my honors program credits towards those upper level electives that Dr. King was talking about. So those electives really give you that flexibility in your later years to whatever you're passionate about. You can count business courses and then get an MBA after towards that. You can count upper level psychology courses or physiology courses. You can count chemistry and honors program credits like I did. And so I did my honors project in chemistry, like early drug development, polymer science studies, and I was able to count those credits. And I think no two pharmaceutical science students end up graduating with the exact same curriculum sheet. Each person really tailors it in a way that prepares them for their next steps, whether they do enter industry like 60% of the graduates do, or they go off to graduate school, or a mix in between. I am now a graduate student and I apply almost all of the knowledge that I have from those introductory courses and those like more specialized courses every single day. A lot of the courses I even take are actually just like upper level versions of courses that I took as an undergrad. I took drug metabolism actually with Dr. King my junior year. And then my first year of my master's program, I took a graduate level drug metabolism course, and it just built upon that foundation that I had a couple of years ago. So it really is, I can talk about the curriculum honestly all day. I think one of the most important parts for me in college is making sure I have a really strong educational background. It's something I'm really passionate about. I really love learning, and pursuit of knowledge is something that I've always been passionate about since I was young. I'm the daughter of a college professor, so it really makes sense. I think every single day at the dinner table is just it's a learning moment, it's an educational moment. We have a lot of debates in my household, so it just made sense for me to really enjoy school and being in a classroom. It just felt natural. And for those students who maybe don't feel as at home in the classroom, they might find themselves more at home in the lab. And I had a lot of classmates who just couldn't wait to get out of a lecture to go run into the lab. They wanted to get their hands, on an experiment. And then I have other classmates who really just enjoy work life. And the second that they graduated, they entered industry, whether they were working on the floor in manufacturing and they were really like helping manufacture batches of drugs, or they went into sales, or they went into hospital administration, they went into research, academic research. This degree really prepares you for what you're passionate about in healthcare. And Heather, I'm going to hand it over to you because I can talk about this curriculum probably as much, if not more, than what Dr. King can talk about.
Yeah, I'm going to actually go off of what you were saying about being in the lab and kind of gearing off the curriculum side of it, where, well, not completely off of it, but I think like what you were saying is some people are more hands-on. So that's definitely me, where I can listen all day and I love the classroom sense of it, but where everything really started to come together is when I was in the lab. To see things happen in front of me made me relate it back to, my lectures, where again, in Dr. King's class with the metabolism, I could see like, oh, once I think that semester is when I was starting to work in the lab and seeing just how all of that science looked in person and also hearing about it in class made me love what I was doing more. So I guess like you said, it's definitely, there's a different face to every student in this in this major and in this curriculum. And where you take it and what you do with it is very unique. So I guess I can talk a little bit more about the independent study side of it, like what I do in the lab. When I came into pharmaceutical sciences, the reason that I came in is because there was I saw a balance between biology and chemistry. I never saw myself leaning towards one side more than the other, and I wasn't sure which one I wanted to do. So we do both, formulations of nanoparticles and cell culture, how those cells take up those nanoparticles. And I see that there's a question in the chat about internships and summer internships, which I guess I can, if you don't mind, Dr. King, I can talk a little bit about the
please
summer.
do. So
Yeah,
yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I did a summer internship, which is through URI, which is called SURF, the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And yeah, I think it's pretty competitive. You apply for it, and based on your GPA and such, you get selected to do this 10-week program. And I ended up staying in the same lab that I worked with, but you can go to different labs. I just wanted to learn more about what I was doing here. So essentially what you're doing is you take on a project that kind of becomes your own, and you have a mentor, so they help you. So don't think like, oh, if I don't know what I'm doing, then how am I going to come up with and own a project for myself? So there's a mentor that walks you through it, but you get to see and fully be hands-on with the start of your project, how you go through it, how you plan your experiments, why you're planning them in that way, seeing the results of them, and then at the end of it, you present your work in a very relaxed poster presentation type of situation where everybody's in the same room. It's not like a one at a time slideshow type of thing. So don't let that deter you if you have any type of stage fright. But it's interesting because you get to walk around and see what everybody else did, and you get to talk about what you did, and it gives you some confidence because you're like, oh wow, okay, I didn't think I knew what I was doing, but I do know what I did this summer. So it's like a crash course of research and what it what you can get out of it. And because it's in the summer, I did take one course in the summer, so that was a little challenging. But if you're not taking any courses throughout the summer, then you really just focus on the research and you get so much out of it. I think I learned majority of my skills in that summertime, more than I would ever just in one semester. So it's definitely worth a shot to do something that's something like that. I know that's very academic focused, but there are internships that are outside of the college that could be more industry based. I know there's definitely some of my classmates have done internships outside of the college as well.
Certainly in terms of, places that are eligible, we have a lot of really strong relationships with companies in the state, and then also in the region. But our students, wherever they are able to find one, whether they're applying to national places or applying to something that's local to a community that they're interested in, we, help them. We have experiential coordinators help them with their applications, help them with their resumes, help them with preparing so that they're prepared to go into a company or into an outside location outside of the university. So I shared my screen and so here's just a couple more things. I have just links to a few things. So, talking about activities in the college. So these are links to just some of the recent news articles that we've had. So this over here on the left is one of our professors. She's doing clinical, or she's doing translational research. So she is in collaboration with some of the physicians at Rhode Island Hospital. And so she's getting liver samples and kidney samples from certain patients and looking for markers of certain liver toxicity and kidney toxicity. And then she also has a study going on where they are treated with a particular compound, and she's trying to see, does that then help to prevent the liver and the kidney tissue toxicity. So that's something that's going on now. We have a Professor Chen, and I think this here is a small picture of Professor Chen. He's looking at unique ways to make nanoparticles for vaccines. So he started this long before COVID came around, and we have all of this interest in vaccines right now, but he's looking for novel delivery ways to be able to administer the vaccines. Here's one of our other faculty, Dr. Burton, Matt Burton, and he's one of our natural products individuals or natural products faculty, and he's one of them who's looking at sources from algae for new molecules. And so, it's just some kind of the interesting things. Another kind of fun thing that's happened over the summer was, this is Dr. Slitt. She and her lab, her people in her lab, developed a saliva test to be able to test for COVID. So instead of having the nasal sample taken and you have to take it off, you have to have it, the PCR test done on it. She found a saliva test, and it was tested over the summer. And in terms of being able to show that it was effective in identifying who was positive and who was negative in a more convenient way than the nasal swab that is otherwise used. Oh boy. I think we're coming on close to being finished. And so, Rosa, I don't want to have people go over too far. Like I said, I can talk forever. Rosa, would you like to say a few more things? And
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Dr. King, and thank you to our students, Tara and Heather, for giving their experiences as well. Those are certainly valuable. But I'm certainly, like I mentioned in the beginning of our presentation, I'm here with the Office of Admission to answer any questions that you may have for admission to the major, both to the Pharmd and also for the Bachelor of Science of the Pharmaceutical Sciences. As I think Tara had mentioned, and Heather, it is a program that we're looking at students who have strong math and science courses. So certainly we're looking for students with a rigor of academic classes. So of course, for sciences, we like to see biology, chemistry. It's very favorable if we have students who take physics or anatomy and physiology. In regards to math, we of course like to see algebra, algebra 2, geometry, and pre-calculus is certainly a requirement for those majors as well. But certainly, the most important part of the application, again, you want to keep in mind some deadlines. So December 1st is our early action deadline. It is the deadline that you want to keep in mind to apply for the programs in the College of Pharmacy, because they are considered a competitive major, particularly the Pharmd program as well, because it's a limited number of students that we can accept into the program. I encourage all students, of course, to submit their applications by December 1st, because if you submit your application by December 1st, it also allows you to be considered for merit scholarship. And historically, our students who apply to those majors do very, very well. But if you submit your application by December 1st, then of course you will be considered for merit scholarship, which is very important. But most importantly, we want to, in the last few moments that we have, answer any questions that you may all have in regards to the admission process as well. Great, Emily. So if you applied a few weeks ago, we are just starting to read applications. We do wait until all of the December 1st deadline applicants submit their application, just to be fair to everyone. So if you apply by December 1st, and if you already submitted your application, you can expect to get your decision by early January. that is when you will receive your decision. Your decision can actually be viewed right on your portal. So when you can submit, when you created a portal, and once you've applied and then you've got a link to create a portal, it will give you a link, and then to that link, and when you log in, it'll make you aware that you have a status change, and then you get to see your decision, which is a lot of fun right online in your application portal. I have submitted my application early for the Pharmd. Perfect, great. So you're both in great shape. I commend you both, because I can tell you that there are many students who are still trying to get the final touches on their applications. And we certainly know that senior year, it's a lot of work, right? You want to make sure that you have your studies, but you're also trying to finish your application. So it's wonderful that you've both already submitted. It's a nice relief to get it submitted, and now you just wait for the decision. But again, you can expect a decision by early January, if not a little sooner. But you'll certainly be hearing from us shortly. Well, it is just about 8 o'clock, so I want to thank, first of all, Dr. King again, and our current students for being with us tonight and for sharing such valuable information. It really is a phenomenal program, and every time I go into the College of Pharmacy or walk through the quintessential gardens, I am always amazed at how much learning and research is done right on our campus every day with our students and faculty. I think also the other thing that stands out with our program is how much personalized teaching our students get. And so they have amazing mentors such as Dr. King and the rest of her faculty who, are very much love teaching, and they're very passionate about what they teach. And of course, all the research that's going on campus every day. So we are very fortunate to have such a phenomenal program right on our campus. So thank you all very much for joining us tonight. If you have any further questions, always feel free to reach out to us in admissions. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. So should you have any questions regarding admission, but I know you've already submitted your application, but if you have questions about perhaps something that comes up in the process and so forth, feel free to send us an email, and we will certainly get back to you. But thank you all so very much for joining us tonight. Have a great night, and best wishes for a great senior year. Be well, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.